every Monday night, you are checking out Breakfast Super Raw.
Bon appetit, as Don Tony and Mish dish out their opinions about the world of pro wrestling, sports, news, and pop culture. Breakfast Super Raw.
And now, your host, Mish and Don Tony.
Can't hear you, dude.
Sorry, I have my mute button on. I was yawning, and I didn't want to be disrespectful during the intro. And you
People can't hear that, can they?
Yeah, sure.
Oh.
I was laughing when you were doing all the special effects 2 weeks ago, and people were like, why is he laughing on the intro? For a few of you out there, let me tell you something. You should be so lucky to have some type of thing to give birth of your spawn. But when you are a pro wrestler, a monster, and you give birth to your son 15 years ago, and you are a monster like Goldberg, holding your son in his hand, you know, you didn't see the other half of the picture. That's not like a side view or anything like that. People actually were ripping the photo in the background. Like, who poses with a child like that? Seriously. Fuck you. You have a child and have the balls to post its picture right after it's born. And when everybody makes fun of you, let's see how you feel about it.
Are there really people bagging on her having a baby? Really? I didn't.
No, not Ronda Rousey. I'm talking about Goldberg. No, this photo, you know, because when he threatened to kill Bobby Lashley tonight, they were fixated on the picture in the background.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
See, that's Goldberg in what, 2005? Gave birth to his son.
Oh, yeah.
Monster,
right.
WWE wrestler, I think, at the time. And people are losing their shit.
Not a bad photo. That's kind of
nothing wrong with it. Nothing
pretty...
fucking wrong with it. Seriously. My favorite Raw of the year. Honestly, my favorite Raw of the year. We had like 11 or 12 matches tonight. We had 2 bangers, and we're not even talking about the main event. We're not even talking about, oh my God, they finally listened, but, little caveat, Mish, the Hurt Business is back. No swerves. They didn't set up Lashley for the fall. And I am ecstatic, but there's one little problem with that. The draft. This might be a one-night thing because all they have to do is draft Shelton or draft Cedric, maybe Bobby Lashley, and the Hurt Business was a one-night thing. What do you think about the Hurt Business being back?
Well, I'd like to not think that they put something back together just to throw it away right away. And it's not the first time that WWE has rebuilt stables, rebuilt tag teams after they split up. So seeing the Hurt Business back in business, I'm okay with it. I think it's a good move. I think people enjoy it. It's something that we've been clamoring for. I mean, we even came up with different solutions to the loss of him having backup. So if anything, people are like, well, they didn't explain it. They didn't tell anybody what was going on. You know what? I don't want them to. I want them to tell us later down the road and explain how all this got amended. You know what I mean? Like, it's like sometimes the storylines work in reverse, which is fine because it's like the surprise is there. You don't want to ruin the surprise by explaining how they all got back together and then try to fiend being shocked when you see him show up out there in the main event. So this works. This is really good. And I know they were in the beginning of the night too, but
what do you think?
I'm just saying. I enjoy it. So
you think WWE is gonna troll us and just have it from a one-night deal?
Could be. I mean, it could be. It could very well be. But I'd like to hope that they're not going to do that. I would like for the team to reform to what it was and maybe grow into different ways. Because right now, the tag teams in WWE are pretty strong. I mean, yeah, you got a couple of sinkers out there, but I think Cedric and Shelton do a lot better as a tag team for the Hurt Business than anything that they were trying to do on their own. You know, AJ and Omos is fantastic. Matter of fact, I mean, I know we'll get to it, stuff like that, but I was even really impressed with the nuances of AJ and Omos tonight. It was almost as if every time Omos looked over when he was stepping in the ring to just crush Riddle with the chokeslam, he kept looking over to AJ for approval, like a mentor, like a father figure. And I love that idea that Omos looks up to AJ even though he's 2 feet taller than AJ.
Yeah.
I love that idea. And it's an interesting little play because AJ and Omos' relationship, while they're fantastic as a tag team together, and I think unanimously, it doesn't matter what side of the coin you flip for, but I think a lot of people really do enjoy their camaraderie. But the one thing we really haven't delved into is, why is their relationship existing still? Like, we don't know the meat of why Omos is still
they're a tag
working
team
with AJ. Yeah, but it's more than that. Obviously, there's a friendship involved there. You know what I mean? Like, even the way that AJ treats Omos and stuff like that, like the big old slap on the chest and stuff, it's not a tag team that's been formed because of mutual exclusivity, like like these two guys knew that they would take each other to the top. There's almost something more to it, or at least that's what I see. Whether it's real or not, or I'm just seeing shit, it could be whatever. But then you got the Usos, which are a strong tag team. You got the New Day, that's a strong tag team. RK Bro, when they're functioning, are a strong tag team. There's a lot of meat on this bone. There's a lot of good tag teams out there.
You know, I brought this up last week, and I'm shocked that 95% of people out there didn't focus on it. You know, last week on NXT, I counted 16 women. 16. Yeah. And I pointed it out last Wednesday that, 16 women, it's a big fucking deal. And you look at Raw tonight, and look, for me, it's not about black, white, women, men, just entertain me. But you look at tonight's Raw, and you look at the number of black entertainers and minorities performing. I mean, people will go to their grave saying, oh, it's an agenda by WWE. I honestly say, and it's not to defend WWE, but fuck that shit. Because they're not throwing, I really don't want to throw Great Khali under the bus. But they're not throwing like 10 Great Khalis out there, and they're getting pushed simply because of the color of their skin or the country that they represent, and this, and that. Everybody out there actually is doing a damn good job. And, for the people out there that always said, oh, they don't push women, they don't push black, they don't push this. I mean, you really have to be grasping at straws to think that WWE is not, really diverse now. I mean, I think it's great. I think it's great. And tomorrow night on NXT, they're hyping up that it's all about the women. I can't believe last week we didn't have tons of people, especially after NWA Empower, especially with all the complaining about AEW and lack of the women's division, other than one match a week, leaving the internet stuff out, or two. You got one Rampage, one Dynamite. But 16 women, sure, not all of them wrestle. Not all of them should wrestle. But I honestly, tonight's Raw, my favorite of the year. Seriously.
Oh, very good.
My favorite of the year. It's not even close. It just, Damian Priest and Sheamus. Dude, I felt so good for Sheamus tonight. Damian Priest as well. But Sheamus, you and I talked about it at the beginning of the year. And this guy, we've noticed for the last 2-3 years, this guy's been putting on banger after banger after banger out there, and he doesn't get that acknowledgement.
I don't know if I'd go back to 3 years, but 2021 is definitely a Sheamus year. I mean, for a guy who's completely turned everything around, DT. I mean, we're talking about going through all the COVID crap and all that with no audiences and everything else like that to January, where he's having just fucking takedown matches with Drew McIntyre, which was amazing. These just slugfests. And kind of going up from there. I don't know what it is. I don't know who lit a fire under his ass, but Sheamus seems like a real player all of a sudden. And I think that there's more to it. Like, I don't know if we're talking about Sheamus getting a run, but at the same point, Sheamus seems very serious about his career right now, and it shows in his matches. And even though he's doing silly stuff last night, making fun of Jeff with the dance and stuff, he's having a good time. Right. But at the same time, it's like he's wrestling like he is a vet, as opposed to just kind of being low mid-card guy.
He's wrestling like a guy that had a spinal stenosis scare that almost put him in early retirement, and now he appreciates every day and tries to go balls out. That's what happens sometimes when you get scares that could affect not only your livelihood but what you love. So I love and I still think Sheamus is SmackDown bound. I think tonight was Sheamus's going away party to SmackDown. I think that's happening. And, since we're just giving our opening thoughts of Raw tonight, our opening thoughts about the show, we'll get into specific matches in a couple of moments. We'll talk about a few other tidbits as well. A couple of congratulations we have to do tonight. But Drew McIntyre closing out the show after Big E defeats Lashley in the cage. Drew McIntyre shows up with the sword, points it at Big E. Oh, okay. I still think Drew McIntyre is going to SmackDown. And his parting gift is, let me help elevate Big E a little bit. So I think we get Big E versus Drew McIntyre. Maybe, see, they better, let me put it this way, WWE better announce the match before Friday. Because Friday, again, the draft goes into next week. So Drew McIntyre does not have to be announced on Friday. Let's make that clear. But if they do announce him Friday, being drafted to SmackDown, they need to already make this match official. This way they could use since the match was already announced, the match still happens. But I kind of like Drew McIntyre versus Big E. WWE is getting big time behind Damian Priest, which we've seen for a while now. And they're dead serious about Big E. You'd be surprised how many people thought that there was a chance Lashley was going to regain the title tonight.
I was one of them, man. I thought for a minute, and especially that you had the Hurt Business involved, I'm like, oh boy, this could be a very short reign for Big E. But at the same time, I figured even if Big E did lose tonight, like if that wasn't a possibility, there's no way that Big E wouldn't get another shot at the title, like immediately, So I don't know. I didn't know where they were going to go with this. So yeah, I was a little on the fence with Bobby Lashley and Big E tonight, but it was a good match. So
Keith Lee gets on Raw tonight, and I tell you, man, after the last week of all this talk online about the Bearcat stuff, you would have thought everybody and their mother already had it instilled in their brain that Keith Lee was paying tribute to Bearcat Wright. And even tonight, I saw a lot of established wrestling podcasters and journalists acting like they knew nothing about the fact that he was paying tribute to one of the most important black wrestlers from the 50s and the 60s, the first ever black heavyweight champion. First ever black heavyweight champion. That should be enough. And we've already established this. I think I was the first one on social media last week that said, look, I ain't ripping this, because if we find out that Keith Lee is doing this as a tribute to Bearcat Wright, man, there's going to be a lot of stupid people out there. And yeah, he's paying tribute to Bearcat Wright. And I don't understand. I mean, it's not bad. It's not bad, the Bearcat. You know, he's paying tribute. He's a big motherfucker. And if this is the start of Keith Lee getting a ton of wins under his belt and getting some momentum and just taking care of business, you mean to tell me a nickname is going to bother people that much? They're letting him grow the facial hair, which is what we wanted all along. He's finally getting the facial hair back.
I get it. I think Bearcat is a much more tolerable nickname than Dewdrop, you know, and I'm sure we'll get to them in a minute. And I still think that the Dewdrop name needs to go because there's so many bad jokes that were made with it. And if the rumors were ever correct that the only reason she was named that was because Vince told her to Dewdrop weight, you know, like that's just kind of sleazy. Don't know if there's any credibility to that, but that's the rumor mill. Bearcat Keith Lee, there's nothing that I really get that's wrong from that. I'm actually a little bit baffled that people are really upset by that nickname,
you just want to bitch about everything.
Yeah, your social media does want to bitch, DT. That's their thing. But it's like I really don't understand, especially when you point at the connotations of recognizing a former wrestler, recognizing one of the first black heavyweight champions. I don't know when you know all that information and it's been publicized, why is there still this outrage, this fiend fake social media outrage over it? It doesn't make sense. I have no problem with Keith Lee's new direction. I do understand when people are confused as to what WWE is doing with Keith Lee. It's no secret. We've talked about it before. A lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, a lot of personal stuff. Start, stop. Like he's got some screeching in his tires. You know what I mean? It's just he needs to become regular back on TV. He needs a direction again. He needs to become involved in storylines, and he needs to get back onto an event.
Well, the heart issues, he had to build up his cardio and his stamina and his strength again. That's why he was doing so many dark matches, mostly against Austin Theory. Now they're at a point where he can be used, not only used every week, but to travel every week. You know, they're not in Thunderdome anymore. So there's a lot of traveling involved. So I'm ecstatic that he's on TV tonight. I mean, we had 2 banger matches, maybe even the main event if you want to include that as well. We had the Hurt Business reform, Keith Lee back. I mean, how much more can you ask? For an episode of Raw, I should say.
You had another good promo from Karrion Kross, redesigning his character away from the Gladiator.
Yeah.
Redesigning his character away from the New York Hardcore. And once again, kind of delving into the Sean O'Hare tribute-like sadist, a little bit more of the macabre version of Karrion Kross, which is what I think we all wanted, you know. And we do have the draft coming up next week, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's a major change in that draft. And the rumor mill abound is that Scarlett might appear with him after the draft. So we'll see. We'll see what the future of Kross is, but it does. It genuinely feels like WWE recognized that they pushed him out there pretty fast, and because of a couple of things outside of their control, the whole Jeff Hardy thing, they've reeled him back in. They took off the silly gimmick, and now it's like they're kind of like readjusting him. And now, because you got to remember with Kross, they threw his debut vignettes out 20 seconds before he debuted. Like he was rushed the fuck out there. So now it almost feels like they're reeling it back in. Now here's Kross every week to tell you his story, telling you who he is, telling you the mindset of his character, plotting for that. And it's almost like, once again, WWE recognizing their mistakes and now at least trying to fix it now, as opposed to trying to fix it a year down the road, 2 years down the road, which unfortunately is the MO of how WWE handled things a lot in the past. So when you talk about people like confused by Raw or confused by the directions, DT, I think a lot of it is because there's a lot of hurt feelings, for whatever that's worth, between the company and themselves. But right now, if you're looking at everything presented to us, it does seem like WWE is trying to do the right thing, with the exception of the finish of last night's pay-per-view.
No, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Sure.
Imagine when Bray Wyatt made his main roster debut, that right before he came out there, Bray Wyatt looked in the camera and said, "My daddy raised me on a shrimp boat." People will understand why I say that. But yeah, it's a reintroduction of Karrion Kross. And we'll have a reintroduction of Scarlett, who has not been on the main roster yet. People need to remember that. She doesn't brought on and then taken off. Just let it play out. Give it a little time. Give it a little time. By the way, I know I mentioned this on Thursday. I think it's worth saying for our mainstream audience, because not everybody tunes into Q&A episodes, let's be honest, and that's not a shot on anybody out there, but congratulations. Just don't choose September 3rd, 2022.
Yeah.
Karrion Kross and Scarlett are officially engaged, and her ring looks almost identical to my fiance's. Good taste.
Really?
Good taste. Yeah, good taste, man. Good taste. I'm so happy for them. Really, really, really cool announcement. And you know what? Congratulations to Ronda Rousey. I believe today she gave birth. Her and Travis Brown are new proud parents of a baby girl. Now, I hope I don't botch this name. I'll spell it first, then I will attempt to say it. The first name is L.A. apostrophe. I sound like Jeff Jarrett. L.A. apostrophe A-K-E-A. No, L.A. apostrophe. L.A. apostrophe A-K-E-A. Lakaya. Lakaya might be?
Lakaya.
Lakaya? Okay. And then you have the middle name, which is M-A-K-A-L-A-P-U-A-O-K-A-L. And the reason why I'm saying this slow is because people will play this back slowly and type it as I say it, or you just do a Google search and get the freaking name. Fuck it. I'm not even going to spell it. It's Makala Pokanipo. Makala Pokanipo. It sounds Greek. So we'll just say Lakia Brown. Lakia Brown.
Lakia Brown. All
Yep.
right.
Congratulations. So they are the proud parents of a baby girl, and nice to see good things happening to good people. So,
Absolutely.
I like your graphic.
Oh yeah, I'm just futzing with stuff. Yeah.
Oh no. I don't have my special effects thing going tonight. I think last week, after having penis nose and wearing a robe and the funny glasses, woo! We'll give everybody a week's break from doing that. For me, you could do it, but
I'm just taking a break at the moment. I'm still talking to you, but at the same time, I'm
it's all good.
being interactive without just shutting my camera off. Like,
No, that's fine. That's fine. Couple of things very quickly. Yeah, thank you to Travis. Not Travis Brown, but I think it's Matthew Travis. I don't know. He's one of our listeners, but he sent me Sting and Goldberg gum. It's perfectly sealed, never opened. As you could see, it never opened. So next week, well, maybe Thursday, we'll pop these bad boys up and we'll check out the gum. This is 22-year-old gum. So we'll open these bad boys up. Sting looks constipated. Look at his face.
Well,
He's like, "Oh God, I got to work against this guy." Come on, AEW, like, I'm a legend. I'm a Hall of Famer. What are you making me work this guy for? Hey, what are you doing? Bobby, I'm going to kill you. Bobby, I'm going to kill you. What'd you think of Goldberg's promo tonight?
I laughed my ass off at it. I actually made a post. I'm like, oh man, somebody better call the police. This man here on television is threatening Robert Lashley. Gotta be worried, because we all know that murder and kill are banned words within the WWE, and Goldberg and all of his legendary status just trolled right through it. So I thought that was kind of funny. It wasn't a bad promo. I understood what he was saying, and you know what? When you tap into that father side, there's a lot of adults, a lot of men in the audience that would totally understand the promo on an intimate level, on a carnal level. You know, it wasn't a bad Goldberg promo. It wasn't a bad promo at all.
Now, this is obviously for Saudi Arabia, which you and I talked about this right after SummerSlam. These two guys are going at it in Saudi Arabia. It's not even a question. this is what this is being set up for. I didn't even realize this the other day. Do you know WWE's only pay-per-view in October is Crown Jewel?
Really?
Yeah. Because
That makes sense.
I worked on the predictions contest. And by the way, very quickly, let me announce the winners of the Extreme Rules predictions contest. First of all, for our YouTube channel members, Jeremiah Richards. He didn't need the tiebreaker. He won the predictions contest. He was perfect with his prediction. So Jeremiah Richards will get in touch so you could claim your prize. On Patreon, it did come down to the tiebreaker. On Patreon, we had, I think, 11 people get every match correct, as did I yesterday. Every outcome correct. But it was, who won? Joey B, who you see is also a channel member here. Joey, why didn't you play on YouTube as well? You would have ran the table. You would have won it all. But he won the predictions contest on Patreon. Check this out. The actual match time of Roman Reigns versus the Demon was 19 minutes and 45 seconds. His tiebreaker was 19 minutes, 44 seconds. He was off by 1 second. So he gets the grand prize. Shezi Ali, which is a familiar name in our Patreon family, which is awesome. And Ryback's personal chef. They both got the runner-ups. But Whisperer Rob, David Samasino, Ken Levitt, Darren, King Ace, Montez Sesley, Ben from G-Town, and the modern-day Matarazzi. They came close, but not close enough. So we'll do it again for Crown Jewel. So,
Very good.
which, look, we're obviously not going to do Extreme Rules recap tonight. I did one yesterday. You did one as well. But, right. I had 24 hours to think about what I said yesterday. And I think I might have been a little bit too harsh on the Finn Balor-Roman Reigns match. My overall thoughts on the pay-per-view is pretty consistent with what I said yesterday. I thought there was not a crappy match all night long. I thought for $5 or $10 on Peacock, I think we got our money's worth. But there were a lot of wrestlers that were absent from that show. And there were some matches that really did not need to be on there. There should have been more extreme stipulations. And I thought consistently the pay-per-view was good. But the ending of Finn Balor and Roman Reigns, to me, just took a match and just flushed it down the toilet. It reminds me of those matches we used to see on TV that you would watch 90% of it and it'd be one of the most memorable matches, and then somebody runs in and fucks it all up. So, I thought the pay-per-view overall was decent, but honestly, a year from now, I'm not going to really think about any match that went down last night other than Lily getting torn apart. She got her ass torn apart yesterday. The stuffing ripped out of Lily. So what's your final thoughts about Extreme Rules yesterday?
Myself and Joe usually disagree on pay-per-views. There's a lot of times where I'm a little bit more optimistic about them, and Joey's a little bit more logical and cynical. I think it was, for both of us, it was unanimously a hot pile of garbage. The pay-per-view was probably the worst one that WWE's done all year. You might even want to compare it to 2 years if you're feeling brave enough to go back into the history of this. 2 good matches on the card with maybe a third. Obviously, the New Day versus Lashley and AJ and Omos was a fantastic match. The 3-way with Priest and Sheamus and Hardy was fucking fantastic. And Roman and Balor was even okay-ish as the hard number 3. Everything else was bad. The women's matches were bad. I know everybody's happy that Sasha returned. I got it. It added nothing to the match for me. I thought the match was overall crap. The Bliss versus Charlotte was crap. Bliss just can't wrestle. I think she pulled out one. Okay, so she pulled out one new move, which was the Canadian Destroyer, which was nice. Nice that she learned one move. But most of her offense is jumping on people's backs. Just really bored of that. I'm just really tired of Bliss. And supposedly there's the rumor mill saying that she's taking a little bit of a hiatus. we'll see what happens with that.
Well,
and I
you
don't
know
blame
where that
Charlotte
came
for that.
Well, a lot of that
Go ahead.
came from a promo that Charlotte cut last night after the match was over, behind the scenes Raw exclusive or Extreme Rules exclusive. People thought they had scoops online yesterday, but it's how the sausage is made. You watch the interview with Charlotte, you see a couple other little tidbits that are being said. Oh, they're kind of scratching this whole playground thing. Yeah, that's how all the stuff miraculously came out today. But look, I think taking Alexa Bliss off for a little while, I don't know exactly when she's getting married. Let's also remind everyone that Alexa Bliss did have a lot of concussion issues, which kept her out for a while. And this is probably the most important thing everybody needs to think about. Alexa Bliss has not had many matches at all recently.
Right.
Almost next to nothing. So the fact that she was out for a while, came back, hardly wrestled at all, has a couple of matches. Her last one was against Eva Marie, to give you an idea as far as work rate goes. And now she's taking time off again. There's more to this than meets the eye. And I don't think it's strictly...
Let me throw something out. Since we're not really breaking down Extreme Rules, let me throw this out about the Alexa Bliss thing, and maybe you can give me your thoughts on it.
Sure.
So there was obviously the shot that Charlotte took to Alexa Bliss on the previous Raw about her originality. Let's not talk about that. And apparently it's a thing where Alexa Bliss was unhappy with the removal and departure of Bray Wyatt.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that she has some kind of backstage issues and she's standing up for some kind of a principle, and there might be some kind of nothing? There's no possibility of that. That's fine then. That's
business. Everybody's got to worry about themselves, their futures, their livelihoods, their significant others. At the end of the day, it's a business. So that's the thing that...
I'm not saying that it is a business. I'm saying, do you think that there's a possibility that she's unhappy with her status in the company because of the way that she's treated her friends?
I don't know.
That her friends
I mean, compared to...
No, I'm just asking if you heard anything.
No, I haven't heard anything at all.
I'm not stating this as fact.
Haven't heard anything at all.
I'm just saying this is... Okay.
Nothing. Haven't heard anything about unhappiness or anything with the Bray stuff at all. I mean, I brought it up yesterday. I'm glad that the fans have lightened up about the Bray. We want Bray chants when she comes out there, because it's not her fault that Bray is not there anymore. So the fans have eased back on that, which is good. But from what, on my end, I haven't heard anything about her being unhappy. Okay. But we'll see what happens. I'm
glad that it's not like that, because there's certain times that the buzz on the internet might have, notions that are correct, and sometimes they're way, way off base.
Yeah.
And if this is one of those scenarios, I'd rather them be off base. It's fine.
Yeah. Let's see what else. Oh, very quickly, I wrote them down. Rampage rating. Now look, everybody, I have said all along that Rampage's rating is going to be somewhere, it should fall into between 550,000 and 750,000 viewers. Depends on, obviously the cards. It depends on, what's going on, weekends, the time of the year. I mean, it's going to go up, it's going to go down. So this past Friday, they scored 727,000 for hour one, 552,000 for hour two, which was 11 o'clock at night, for a composite of 640. The overall rating went down 2,000 viewers from last week. And this is Grand Slam, and this was all of the matches hyped up. This was CM Punk's first televised match in 7 years, and the overall rating just barely went down a drop. I'm still not concerned at all, because it is a Friday night. It is normally 1 hour. So it's falling right in the range that I said all along. But I will make this comment to be a little bit even-sided, or look at both sides of this. Since Rampage debuted, every single week, the ratings have gone down. Now, obviously, there is some people have a ceiling. There's a floor on this. I don't think you could go much lower than 640. You might end up in the upper fives sometimes because, like I said, I think 550 is going to be their floor and 750 on average will be this. Yeah, there'll be some weeks it'll be higher, no question. But since Rampage started, the ratings went 1,129,000, 740, 696, 670, 642, 640. So I'm still not concerned whatsoever. I think the people that are the most shocked are the people that insist that AEW is better than what WCW used to be in its NWO days. I think a lot of those people are getting a little bit of a reality pill, that AEW is not on the level of WWE yet. But, they've still only been in business for a little over 2 years, so
Right.
Let them organically grow. AEW is not going to close down anytime soon, but you don't want AEW to feel that this unneeded pressure, that they have to put out banger shows every single week because they're going to burn themselves out. So I just figured I'd mention the ratings. SmackDown did 2,135,000 viewers. That's about a 5% drop. If you look at the overall ratings last week, let me see if I can pull it up here. As far as tonight goes, because last week the big winner was obviously.
We won't know tonight till tomorrow.
No. What I'm saying is last week when we were looking at the ratings for the week prior, NXT was the big winner because their ratings went up 28%. Last week, if you look at the overall week in ratings up until tonight, we don't know Raw yet, but if you look at the last 7 days in ratings, AEW Dynamite had the biggest increase, and it was only 8%. AEW went up 8%. Raw went up 7%. Everything else went down. So no major shifts up or down. It was pretty consistent for the week. But I just wanted to point that out because I know a lot of people are into the ratings aspects of it. So, I figured just throw that out there. And yes, I am keeping up with the timestamps tonight. I know everybody has been appreciating the timestamps the last couple of days, so we'll stay on that. I also wanted to make quick mention. We do have a death in the world of pro wrestling. And this is, look, it's a name that we haven't heard in quite some time, but still, I think way, way too young to go. You remember Ryan Sakoda, Keiji Sakoda, that worked with Akio and I think Tajiri for a little bit?
Akio and Jamie Noble. He worked with Jamie Noble as well.
Yeah.
They were part of the Young Dragons in WCW. And I believe they actually did some stuff here in WWE together for a hot minute too. Way back in the day.
It might have been. Yeah, he died.
I think they did something together. He passed.
Yeah, he died 46 years old.
Yeah,
46.
My age. Well, a little older, but still.
Yeah.
What did he pass from?
We don't know yet. I've heard a couple
so it wasn't anything traumatic or.
I don't know yet. I mean, a lot of people pointed out today that he was part of that big concussion lawsuit. He claimed that he was battling severe headaches, severe depression.
Yes, I do remember Ryan Sakoda having those issues that was talked about. He actually did some kind of article. I'm not exactly many years back too. So this is an ongoing thing, obviously. I do remember him being part of that lawsuit for a while there. Wow, I really hope it's not concussion based.
Well, he died. I mean, he didn't just die yesterday. He died the day after Daphne.
Okay.
I'm not trying to insinuate anything.
No, nobody brought it up or anything like that. It's pretty wild.
I wasn't aware of it either. It only came out because somebody happened to see an obituary pop up about a professional wrestler dying, and I think he was in Cali. He might have been in Cali, but somebody found an obituary online, probably just doing a regular wrestling search, and saw that a former wrestler from WWE died recently and noticed that nobody had talked about it. So rest in peace. Rest in peace. Even though we haven't seen him in a while, but still 46, way too young to go. Way too young.
Yeah.
Some more, news, and one is pretty cool thing. One, I mentioned it yesterday. I know some of you were made aware of it today, and 95% of websites out there are still not talking about it. If you subscribe to YouTube TV, as of right now, in 3 days, you will no longer have the USA Network. YouTube TV and NBC Universal's deal runs out September 30th. They have not agreed on a new deal. And there are a lot of channels under the NBC Universal banner, a lot of channels. And as of right now, they have not come to terms. Hopefully they come to an agreement for an extension. But as of right now, for all of us, because I'm a subscriber to YouTube TV as well, as of now, if they don't agree to a new deal at this time next week, I will not be able to watch Raw through YouTube TV. I will have to try, obviously.
Well, time to get your ass on over to Sling.
I may have to go over to Sling.
People.
Yeah, even if it's for a little while.
Yeah.
So I just figured I'd mention it because some people out there, this is going to affect. Now, more positive news.
Sling is cheaper than YouTube. Sling has more channels than YouTube. Not even is Sling cheaper than YouTube. Sling's entire package is cheaper than YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
With the exception of the outlying channels that you pay for individually or by block, the overall Sling orange and blue package is cheaper than YouTube. There's just no reason to be with YouTube at this point. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people like it because they don't get ads on their YouTube channels and stuff, but I don't know, man.
Royal Rumble. We got some news on the Royal Rumble, which is pretty cool. They have announced that the Royal Rumble next year will be in St. Louis, Missouri, at the Dome in America Center. That will be the largest venue in Royal Rumble history.
Wow.
That's crazy. That's crazy. When you think about Royal Rumble history, 2022's Royal Rumble will be the largest crowd in history. That's pretty sweet. What's even cool?
Doesn't that just kind of scream that they're going to have a lot of specialties during that pay-per-view during the Royal Rumble? There's going to be a lot of names coming back for at least tonight. You know
what's even better? It's happening on a Saturday.
That's right.
January 29th, 1/29/22. January 29th, 2022.
Yeah,
I absolutely look, man. I know a lot of you out there, majority of you out there are younger than me. Some of you a lot younger than me. But I grew up back in the day where we had a lot of pay-per-views on days that were not Sunday. And let me tell you something. It was pretty cool sometimes to have pay-per-views on a Saturday, pay-per-views on a Thursday, pay-per-views on a Monday, pay-per-views on a Tuesday. Didn't happen all that often, but believe me, especially when we do recaps, the last thing I want to do on a Sunday night is do a recap till 1 a.m., put it online. By the time I get to bed, it's 3 a.m. By the time I fall asleep, it's 3:30 to 4 a.m., and then I got to get up at 6:30. So the fact that it's on a Saturday, man, get to sleep late on Sunday, I freaking love it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
To quote Ric Flair, 1991, I love it.
Let's be honest. More people have no problem staying up extra late on a Saturday night than they do on a Sunday. Like the archaicness of running pay-per-views on Sunday in 2021 is just silly.
Yeah.
It was one thing when they did it way, way, way back in the day, but over time it's made more and more sense. Saturday night is when fights happen. Saturday night is when people go out. Why can't Saturday night be the same night that people go to the bar, like a sports bar and grill or a Rookies or something like that, and watch Royal Rumble on the TV screen? It's just it's mindless to me that it's taken it so long for WWE to start adopting this. But you know what? Baby steps. If this is eventually what it's going to be, where pay-per-views now eventually get incorporated into Saturdays, I'm okay with it. And I'm sure every podcaster out there is okay with it, because we'd rather be in bed on Sunday night getting ready for work on Monday than having to do a podcast at 3 a.m. So
absolutely, man. Absolutely. Very quickly, a couple of actually, you know what? Main event results tonight. Some of you will like this. Mace defeated Matthew A. Ratz, R-A-Z, Matthew A. Ratz. And what was the other one? Wait, what was the other dark match?
I don't know.
Damn. I had it written down too.
What,
Son of a
Extreme
bitch.
Rules?
No, this was today. Main event. Hold on, I got it right here. Hold on, I got it right here. Main event results tonight. We had Mace over Matthew A. Ratz. And where the hell is it? Hold on a second. Where the hell is my Raw results? Oh, I know why. I'm looking at the wrong freaking episode. Wow, I am stupid. Holy cow, am I stupid. All right, here we go. All right. The main event results, Mace over Matthew A. Ratz and John Morrison over Drew Gulak. Now, all right, I'll share it here because I know not everybody tuned in over the weekend. I've joked before that, a lot of people like to copy our shit and never give us credit for it. This is 24 years of this stuff. Remember Mr. Mystery? All the excuses we give? Oh, my God. No one gives us any credit at all. And when I exposed how the sausage was made, even when we reported that Ric Flair's woo was going to be removed from WWE and Peacock, nobody reported it. Oh, the so-and-so's reporting. They just don't like us. It's cool. Well, when a lot of people like to copy our shit and don't give us credit, I like to troll them once in a while. So what happens is when I was doing the quarter-hour breakdowns, I did a lot of research myself, and I would put the quarter-hour breakdowns out there, and a lot of places would write it. And I'm like, I know some of these motherfuckers are definitely, because the way they would say like certain phrases. So what I would do is I would take a quarter-hour rating and I would tweak it by 1,000 viewers just to see who would report the same exact number. And I caught a boatload of people doing that. So now when we get wrestlers that beat up or defeat jobbers or enhancement talent that no one seems to know the names of, I now insert the name Matthew A. Ratz. Last name spelled R-A-Z. Matthew, you could call him Matt for short. And if you think about it, Matt A. Ratz. If you put that all together, that spells Matarazz. And some of you, Xander and a few others right now, are saying that websites reported that Matthew A. Ratz, Matarazz for short, has lost an enhancement match, an enhancement talent. He lost to Mace tonight. That name is a figment of my imagination. So when you see places out there reporting that Matthew A. Ratz loses a match anywhere, teams up, whatever it is, instead of writing local enhancement talent or the infamous question marks, I put Matthew A. Ratz. So that's the little inside joke for all of us. Yeah, there's places tonight reporting it that Mace beat Matthew A. Ratz. Call him Matt for short. I love it, man.
It's fun.
That's fun. I like things like that. Anyway, before we get into the Raw results, and we'll take some calls and get out of here, because we're at 48 minutes. And we definitely, the last two shows, under 2 hours. And I got a lot of praise from a lot of people out there like, oh, DT, thank you. You're finally cutting the shows down just a little bit. But we're going to do that again tonight. But before we put it all together with the Raw results and take a couple of calls, this was our draft predictions from the other day. On my end, going to SmackDown, Nia Jax, Asuka, Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley, MVP, Elias, and Sheamus, as well as Garza and Carrillo and John Morrison, with my strong pick, which means I really believe they're being moved, was Drew McIntyre. I also, on the Raw side, I believe drafted to Raw would be Brock Lesnar, the Mysterios, Happy Corbin, Cesaro, Tony Storm, and just because I want to be a troll, Naomi. I want Sonya Deville to draft Naomi back to Raw and just troll like, no bloodline. Nope. Right back to Raw just to be a bitch. Mish. His picks are Eva Marie and Nia Jax, which is pretty wonderful, especially after what Shayna Bazler has done to both of them in the last 7 days. And you know, Mish, I got to tell you too, I swear on Jesus Christ, and I shouldn't say that like that on the show, but that's what we used to say when we were young. I swear on God, or I swear on Jesus Christ. I swear on God. My fiance did not watch Raw last week.
Jesus.
She watched the replay of what Shayna Bazler did to Nia Jax tonight. Yeah. She saw the replay, and the words out of her mouth was, with Nia Jax, she said, she sounds like a fucking pig. And I was thinking about last week's show when you played the pig sound bites. So she even said Nia sounded like a squealing pig. But your choices to go to SmackDown is Eva Marie, Nia Jax, Asuka, Bobby Lashley, and MVP, Elias, Jackson Riker, and Karrion Kross. Going to Raw, you have Bayley, Toni Storm, Apollo Crews, and General Aziz. That's a fascinating one. Cesaro and Kevin Owens, because now I'm thinking Apollo Crews and General Aziz versus AJ Styles and Omos. That could very well happen.
Yeah.
Any names you want to take off? Or you're still good with your list?
No, you know what? I'll stick with it. I'm really
too.
concerned. I'm very concerned about Elias. And I'm very concerned about Kevin Owens. Like those two names, I don't know what they're doing, DT. I have no idea where those two guys are going to end up. They feel very out of the atmosphere right now. You know what I mean? Yeah. Especially for Elias, who pretty much said his condolences to his character, and we were waiting for the rebirth. And Kevin Owens, who has been kind of like marred under sparks of controversy about his innocuous tweets for AEW rejoining as the Mount Rushmore over there. So I don't know, DT. I'm a little worried. I'm a little worried about those two.
Yeah, boy, if Elias shows up on SmackDown just to wail at Rick Boogs, and Elias is pretty much doing similar what he did before, I just hope they don't shave his freaking beard and he just looks like a local jerk-off, to say it nicely. I got this really bad vibe that they're going to give him like a clean haircut and he's going to just look like it's not going to be like Otis. Because Otis, you know, him being clean shaven the way he is, it is fit beautifully. With Elias, though, man, I don't know. You cut his hair, you shave his beard, and he looks like some Joe Schmo, and he can't sing on top of it. Like, what does he do? What does he do? Shave with Elias? I mean, what do you do? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Jackson Riker tonight.
Yeah.
I guess we could start talking about Raw a little bit. Jackson Riker tonight. And I know we're going a little bit out of place, but let's just mention Jackson Riker and then we'll get in order. He lost to Karrion Kross. And I got to tell you, man, I don't know if anybody saw it closely, but Karrion Kross didn't even have the submission on perfectly. I don't know whose fault that was, but before Karrion Kross could even grip it onto Jackson Riker tapped.
Yeah.
And it looked horrible. There's something else happened tonight, too. I don't know if anybody picked up on that, but Jackson Riker I picked up on, and I'm like, my God, I know that ends his 10-winning streak, but Jackson Riker tonight, man, seriously, I have nothing against the guy. I mean, you know, look, I understand why people don't like him, but I just don't see where this guy breaks through. Seriously, I don't see where he breaks through.
Riker doesn't seem to have the right seat with the fans. Riker doesn't seem to have the right seat with creative. You know, I saw sparks of what I enjoyed out of Riker. I liked the idea of the BDSM guy. I liked the idea of somebody who enjoyed physical pain. I think that a mentality like that, a character or a gimmick like that, can absolutely work within WWE. But on that same note, it quickly seems like Karrion Kross is kind of pulling up that gimmick too. I mean, they haven't come out and said it. They haven't come out and explained that yet. But from the way that his character has been cutting promos and carrying himself, you almost wonder if he's in the same vein of what they were trying to get over with Jackson Riker. Jackson Riker, unfortunately, is casualty of war. I mean, I don't think that there's much for this guy. I could be wrong. Maybe they can retool this guy and have him come out and become something else. But right now, if his job is to make other people look good, or at least attempt to, not by tonight's match.
But when you say repackage, do you mean like somebody like this?
Yeah.
Shane Thorne? Yeah, we could say it before we continue with the Raw results. This is why, everybody. This is why I don't want to be first. I want to be right. Shane Thorne, he did a Crocodile Dundee. First of all, people got to think where he comes from, where he hails from. But, people immediately like, oh, what the fuck is Vince doing to him, this and that. And instead of just keeping quiet, they didn't learn with the Keith Lee stuff. Instead of keeping quiet and trying to understand or find out why are they doing this character, they go out and rip Vince, rent this, and then we get this tweet from Shane Thorne. All of this character is his idea completely. He is paying tribute, paying big time tribute. And on top of it, he got inspired from Nikki Ash being able to do the almost superhero character that she created. And people now are, and what pisses me off? I don't care if they won't block me because they don't give a shit about me, but I call them ringside fools, not ringside news. Shane Thorne puts that out there, and you know what these assholes write? Sure, Shane. Yeah, you came up with that. And then they're like, he's just saying that to save his job. These are not news people. These are dicks. These are assholes.
Right.
So Shane Thorne getting the opportunity to repackage himself makes you wonder, do you think Jackson Riker is the one who heavily pitched the idea about abusing his body and this and that? But I don't know. I don't know what you do with Jackson Riker. I'm a little concerned with that.
Yeah, there's not much that they can do right now. It would have to be a complete change. I think his best bet is to become somebody's toady. Maybe slap him in there with Happy Corbin, and you can have Corbin and his goofy gimmick alongside with Jackson Riker and his depressed, stoic personality.
Happy Corbin and not so happy Jackson.
Right, exactly. Happy and unhappy.
All right, we opened up Raw tonight. The much hyped to open up Raw, Big E versus Lashley for the WWE Championship. Now, yesterday, I thought because of the back and forth with AJ Styles and Bobby Lashley, I even said down to the T yesterday with Adam Pearce, I said, okay, somebody is going to cause the match stoppage. And then Adam Pearce, no, we're not going to end this match like this. And they restarted later in the night. The only thing is I thought they were going to put AJ Styles in it. But we didn't get that. Instead, we get the surprise of the Hurt Business at ringside. Then the New Day show up. Adam Pearce comes out screaming and yelling. They're ejected. Did a great job ejecting them to make sure they wouldn't interfere to, the match later on, which they all did. Right. I mean, it's just, I don't mind restarting a match later on, but to do it so close to other times is just ridiculous. I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, don't get me wrong. Look, there's a cage. All right, we'll do a cage match. I know what people are going to say, like, how did you know you were going to do a cage match tonight? We're not supposed to think that thorough. We're supposed to just enjoy the show. And again,
well, at the same point, too, isn't this kind of more of that throwback that we were talking about that WWE is going through? Once again, I hate to bring up the Attitude Era because people get pissed off when you even say it. But this is one of the things that they did in the Attitude Era. You'd have a match early in the night. There would be a screw job. And then somebody would come out and go, well, tonight you're going to go one-on-one with The Undertaker. And it's like, and that was your main event. Like, they would reschedule the match in the same night not necessarily for the people at home, but the people in the audience are losing their damn minds. You know, it was
Absolutely.
it was fun booking.
Yeah.
It was fun booking. It was, yeah, maybe it doesn't make sense because you're so used to, and not you, but I mean in general, people are so used to, well, they're not going to have the match tonight. They're setting this up for the pay-per-view. Well, why can't we have the match tonight?
Exactly.
Because they're a heel and they're not going to wrestle on the same night that they're challenged. Like, these are old wrestling tropes, DT.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if they're doing a little something here and there to break up the monotony of old tropes, good for them. Good for them.
That crowd loved the show tonight.
Yeah.
That crowd was buzzing all night long. And you can't just gauge social media. You have to gauge your live crowd. You got to gauge how fans interact. There was some piped in, without a doubt. The Goldberg crowd sounds when he was sitting on the couch was definitely piped in. The Shayna Bazler stuff, well, let's talk about it really quick. Shayna Bazler.
All right.
Last week, she does that to Nia Jax. Crowd boos her out of the building.
Yeah.
And I said last week, I don't think that's the outcome WWE expected. I think WWE expected Shayna Bazler to get cheered heavily because Nia Jax is such a heel, especially, all the antics that Nia Jax has done over the last couple of years. But Shayna Bazler does what she does, and she gets booed out of the building. Tonight, when Shayna was going to be interviewed in the back, and she just keeps walking, she doesn't say a word, that crowd booed as soon as they saw Shayna when she was playing with the deck of cards. The crowd booed heavily.
Nia got sympathy last week, DT, from the way that she was screaming and squealing and rolling on the floor. The person that everybody hated most got sympathy from her response. And Shayna Bazler, when she was coming out there, you're right, she was getting booed. That wasn't piped in. People were actually pissed off at Shayna.
Right.
And then it was a good job by the interviewer to say, well, what did you think last week? What was going through your head? And Shayna, I don't know. I mean, she's playing with the cards and shit, which I thought was fucking great too. Once again, wink, wink, nod, nod, Queen of Spades. But it was also like she knows how to emote. For a girl that the biggest problem people had with her was she had no emotions. She isn't very good at acting. She's not good at promos. Man, her facial reactions tonight were fucking fantastic. They were fantastic last week too. It threw me off my game because I'm not expecting that level of a connection to the fans, to the audience, and to the storyline from Shayna Bazler.
Yeah.
And it's obviously not because she can't do it. Clearly she can. And tonight, she had a wonderful repeat performance with Eva Marie.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. People need to understand. If you're unsure of which direction WWE wants you to go with Shayna Bazler, think about it. They had Shayna Bazler take out Nia Jax and Eva Marie, two of the most hated women in the WWE roster for fans.
Sure.
And, the crowd tonight started cheering for Shayna Bazler. They wanted her to do one more time. And she obviously didn't do it. And WWE piped in a lot of boos, which just looks confusing. It looked confusing.
Well, they piped in the boos because they want Shayna to be the heel,
right?
Which
No,
initially
so.
She was the heel, but I think that you don't think that WWE wants her to be the heel?
No. Why would she take out Nia Jax and Shayna Bazler? Instead, she would take out baby faces.
Because of the way she's doing it. See, there's a difference. Like there's heel and then there's despicable heel. You know what I mean? Shayna Bazler isn't taking out a heel because she's doing what's right for the audience. She's not doing what's right for WWE.
Right, but
she's hurting people because somewhere she's enjoying it. She's getting off on it. She's really getting into the sadist version of her character. And look, it's been two heels back to back, but I have no doubt in my fucking mind that there's a baby face on the way next. Somebody else is going to face that wrath. I think Shayna's going next level heel. She's going to become the eliminator, Shout
out to Crazy Cruiserweight, who is a huge fan of Shayna Bazler. And I say that jokingly. He does not want Shayna Bazler on TV.
No.
Oh, yeah. God, he freaking hates Shayna Bazler.
Hates her.
I freaking love Shayna Bazler. I mean, seriously, she's one of my highlights out there because she's legit. Seriously. And when she did that to Eva Marie tonight, I'm like, oh, thank you. Good. That's how you write her off TV.
Well, Crazy Cruiserweight is an Eva Marie fan, though, right? I think he is.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. So Cruiserweight, you don't have to super chat at Cruiserweight, but next time you're in the chat or DM us, we're going to do Patreon tomorrow.
Call in sometime, dude.
Yeah.
Got a phone line.
Sure.
Yeah.
You can do that. Roger Rubio, thank you very much, my friend. Cup of Joe from Cup of Joe from Rubio.
Oh.
Thank you, Roger. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger.
And Ray Guns 101. Yes, everyone, if you're enjoying the show, smash that like button and you'll be surprised how much it helps. Also, for my channel members, I put up an hour-long Q&A today, answered everybody's questions. I recorded it several days ago, but with Grand Slam going down and then the weekend and then Extreme Rules and doing a contest and trying to get stuff done and manage real work in the insurance, it just was a lot of overwhelming. So today I edited stuff this morning. I uploaded it and it's online for everybody. So, but thank you very much, my friend. Thank you very much. Chris Silver. Yeah, we've said this before. AJ Styles and Omos kind of give you that little bit of vibe of Shawn Michaels and very early Diesel. Shawn Michaels would be like
I said,
hide behind Diesel.
I got it. Yeah.
I like it. I mean, Omos is not as charismatic as Diesel, but he doesn't need to be. Yeah. That's it. And then Cruiserweight was talking about Shayna Bazler. So, but I don't know, man. We'll see what happens. We'll see who Shayna takes out next. That'll be the turning point to see who she takes out next. I'd like to see Shayna. Yeah, good.
Right now, she's taking out the people that I dare I say a lot of the social media fans want to see get taken out. Yeah. I mean, if Bliss was around, man, oh man, I would be happy if Shayna took out Bliss. There's a lot of women that you could have Shayna go after as a thumb to the nose, not necessarily against the audience, but against what the perception of what, social media, the IWC deems as unworthy female wrestlers. And I mean, if you put her on SmackDown, she'll have more than a few people to go after. I would like to believe that Shayna could be the next incarnation of Amazing Kong. Flipping Bellas.
Not bad. Just go out there and hurt people.
Yeah.
Go out there and hurt people. Okay. All right. I'm cool. Cool with that. Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza. You and I said it last week. Start getting worried about the Viking Raiders. Just something. Yeah. And I mentioned it yesterday on the recap. There's something about WWE. If you watch them long enough, you can get the sense where WWE has said, all right, turning the corner, downhill spiral starts to begin, and it feels that way with the Viking Raiders. The Viking Raiders lose tonight to Carrillo and Garza. Look, this is more the showcase Carrillo and Garza, who might be drafted to SmackDown. I think they will. But they got a very impressive win tonight against the Viking Raiders. I think that surprised a lot of people.
Yeah.
So,
I'm not really expecting much from the Viking Raiders at this point anyways. They're kind of a passé moment. I think their best times are unfortunately behind them when they were working with the Street Profits. That was when they seemed to be the most prominent on television, at least for me. I'm sure that other people have enjoyed them at different points of their career in WWE, but they're at the level where they are just fodder. They're there to make other people look good. And you know what? I don't have a problem with that, because there's nothing wrong with having big guys willing to make little guys look better.
Right.
Look, there are certain scenarios where big guys should never lose to little guys, but when they're kind of painted as buffoons and they're kind of painted as jokes, it makes a lot more sense that you can have a serious tag team or serious guys who are mid-size that could actually take them out.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Sylvia Biggs, big friend of the show. And she's tuning in live tonight. Much love. Reggie. I think this is the second time Reggie has won by DQ. in a 24/7 title match. I think the first time was against Chad Gable. He takes on Ricochet tonight. We get a whole bunch of interference by the usual suspects, and Reggie wins by DQ. Some people still really enjoy the Reggie stuff. Me, I'm done with it. I'm just, because what's happening is, all right, there's only so many times you could do with R-Truth and Tozawa. So now you're using people like Ricochet. I mean, if people really got triggered about Jeff Hardy going out there, running after the belt, explain to me their lack of reaction to Ricochet. Even though it was a DQ finish, but Ricochet fighting for the 24/7 title and losing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Doesn't mean much to me. Ricochet is not a guy who I tune in to watch. I know that there's a lot of people that
I
do
love
enjoy
Ricochet.
I'm very mild on Ricochet. There's just nothing to the guy. He doesn't have a gimmick. You know, there's just nothing to him. He's a generic creator wrestler. He's 2021 Maven. That's what Ricochet is. You know, I just don't see nothing for him. But you know what? As long as he's out there making other people look good, do your job. Buddy.
Yeah, I mean, I look back to all those years that I've been a wrestling fan, and very rare do you get a wrestler or a character like this that gets that much play, that is really, is just doesn't have an established wrestling background that everybody, like on the way up and everything. Very rare to have someone come across like that. And I'm not saying that as a good thing. None against the guy personally, but I think you're now having to use guys by default that are pissing off fans. And I think the Reggie stuff has really run its course, in my opinion. So Keith Bearcat Lee squashes Tozawa, 30 seconds, a minute, the most.
Although I did kind of find it funny, in order to set this up as the most amusing thing, was Tozawa is doing call-outs now. Like, like usually that was the funniest thing to me, is usually it's the big guys or like the strong guys that are doing call-outs, the heels going, you can't defeat me and I challenge anybody out there. Or you have the baby face doing, I'll challenge anyone for my championship. You had Tozawa doing a call out.
I call out R-Truth.
And the person, but no, the funniest thing is, and the person that comes out is Keith Lee at like, what, 300 pounds is fucking superior?
Yeah.
That is really backwards and funny. Like that is a trope that was busted there tonight. Because normally you would expect Keith Lee to sit there and call everybody out, and then we would laugh because Tozawa would come out and challenge Keith Lee, and it would be a smash, and fucking Keith Lee would look like $1 million. This was in complete reverse, where Tozawa, who has like, what was the last match that Tozawa won, DT? Well,
it's been a while. Actually, it's been a while.
That's what I'm saying. And he's doing a call out, and Keith Lee's big ass comes out there. I fucking laughed. It was pretty funny. It wasn't supposed to be funny, maybe, but to me, it was funny. I don't know.
As we said earlier, Damian Priest, Sheamus tore the roof off the building tonight. I mean, it reminded me so much of Sheamus's match with Drew McIntyre early this year. I mean, physical, brutal, just really physical. And you could tell that, you look at over the years, you'll see some wrestlers do shoot interviews and they'll say, oh, Vader, would always like to throw them in there, lay them in there. Like, you never wanted to face Vader because you could throw them in there. I'm not saying that Sheamus is on the level of Vader with potato shots. But, you could tell that there's some guys out there that are like, nah, man, lay it in. No, fella, lay it in. I could take it, fella. The guy freaking broke his nose again. And he puts out a banger of a match like this. I'm telling you, I even joked when he even wrote banger tonight on Twitter after his match. And I wrote on his Twitter, I said, everyone acknowledge him. I know acknowledge me is the Roman Reigns thing, but acknowledge him. This guy, man, he is so far removed from the days of him versus Randy Orton when everybody was doing the wave and stuff like that. I am, out of everybody on that roster, man, Sheamus is one of those guys that I am truly, truly extremely happy for. They killed it tonight. And Damian Priest really held his own. I mean, if Sheamus now goes to SmackDown, and that was Damian Priest's parting gift, another rub from Sheamus, being a no DQ match and anything goes, and going with the table spots and white noise through the table. I mean, Sheamus has left Damian Priest so much higher on the food chain, and Sheamus should be praised heavily. Seriously, I love that match tonight. I thought it was awesome.
I mean, we talked about him at the beginning of the show. We'll talk about him again. You know, this guy is very serious about going forward, and he's doing all the right moves, and he's having great matches. But let's be fair. Damian Priest has been a highlight for Raw. You know, when people bring up that WWE mishandles talent and doesn't know how to use the new guys, I mean, Omos and Damian Priest and Riddle are like the three I go to in order to defend that point. Damian Priest has been doing nothing but hitting it out of the park all the way back since before SummerSlam. Geez, back since Mania. So I have no problems with Damian Priest. He's a good champion. He's a good wrestler. And clearly this guy is going to be groomed for success on the next level. And so his back and forth with Sheamus is not only good for Damian Priest, but it's good for Sheamus too, because Sheamus looks good out of this. People were not unhappy with this match. People were not unhappy with the three-way last night with Jeff Hardy. These three had great chemistry. And tonight, Sheamus and Damian Priest continue the great chemistry. So it's always something that even if Sheamus does get drafted, DT, even if he goes to SmackDown and we'll say that Damian Priest stays on Raw, it's always something they can revisit in the future. And you can always have that match again.
Sure. You have the Invitational. They could show up 4 times a year on the opposite brand. You could always do that. Speaking of three-ways, we had a 6-man tag match tonight, 3 on each side. You had Jeff Hardy team up with Mansoor and Mustafa Ali. They lose to Jinder Mahal, Shanky, and Veer. I'm not concerned, even though if people are taking note, Ali and Mansoor have lost the last couple of matches. I think Mansoor and Ali will have, I'm still going with my idea that they will face each other in Saudi Arabia. And if that's the case, they will be given 15, 20 minutes time, and they will tear it up.
Oh, yeah. I think people can smell this one from a mile away. The reason that they're losing these matches is because they're going to go over big at Crown Jewel.
Yeah.
I don't think it takes a fucking rocket scientist to figure this one out. The reason that they're giving Jinder and Shanky and kind of the push right now is because they want people to buy into that when Crown Jewel comes around. That's going to be the match that we have again. So, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, and Veer, Shanky, and Jinder, we got the draft coming up, so they need to make these guys look legit in some way, even though they've lost so many freaking matches. So I think that's the reason why. And look, it would not surprise me if they end up split up. Would not surprise me if they end up being split up. I'm not saying anything negative about Sheer or Shanky or Veer. Sheer's pantyhose. Shanky or Veer, but I don't know where they fit in the long term as far as WWE goes. I mean, I don't know where they fit. It just, you see what's going on with the Viking Raiders, and at least the Viking Raiders at some point was over quite a bit. Vanky and keep screwing their names up. Shanky and Veer. I don't know, man. I don't know. Another banger tonight. And look, I don't think people realize how many times AJ Styles and Riddle have had a match. They have had quite a few over the last year and a half. They still just deliver on an elite level. Now, let me say this once, because I know a lot of you out there were bringing this up tonight. Yes, AJ Styles did the Burning Hammer. And then the Styles Clash for the win, and everybody's going nuts about the Burning Hammer. I strongly suggest you do a Twitter search, type in AJ Styles and Burning Hammer. You'd be shocked how many times AJ Styles has done that move.
Yeah.
Doesn't do it all the time. But, man, they tore that freaking building up tonight. That match, man, it's like, how do you top Sheamus and Damian Priest? I think they managed to do that. They had a killer match.
They did. They really did. And, I really like that dynamic there. And Riddle was out of his element. And it felt like Riddle was being ganged up on. And they made sure that the cameras were always looking at Omos. And Omos is standing there on the outside of the ring, mean mugging the shit out of Matt Riddle and licking his lips and waiting for his moment. And even in the end, after the match was over, AJ kind of looks at him. They give each other this ominous nod. And AJ starts to walk out of the ring. And almost just starts crushing him with the choke slam. And he just looks back at like approval and he laughs and he's like, "This is my yard." And I'm like, fuck, this dude has it. This almost has it. Don't know everything that the guy has, but he really has a presence about himself. He has the voice, that guttural way of talking. Like, that was always one of the things that bothered me about Bobby Lashley, is that Bobby Lashley is this big, mean-looking motherfucker, but he talks like this.
I thought he did good tonight with his promos, though.
He did. I'm just busting his balls. But the reality is Omos is like, he's perfect in almost every way. He's just got to figure out the selling a little bit, because we've talked about this ad nauseum. Like, there's no reason that anybody's going to believe a guy that size is going to take like a kick from Rey Mysterio and try to pretend it hurts. It's not going to happen. So they need to figure out how to have this guy utilize his weaknesses without looking silly or goofy.
Right.
But other than that, almost, man, I see star. I see a fucking star. I really do, man.
He's got something.
Oh,
they need
absolutely.
A little more seasoning, but they got something.
Yeah, he's young. How old is he? Is he like, what, 30, 29, something like that?
It could be that old.
Yeah, he's a young dude. He's got plenty of time.
Mm-hmm.
And with as much love as he's getting right now, and especially with how much people like AJ and Omos together, there's no doubt in my mind that WWE is going to do whatever they can to make sure this guy makes it.
Yeah. Charlotte with an open challenge tonight for the Raw Women's Championship. A lot of people thought Asuka. A lot of people thought Shayna. Doudrop shows up in Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville's office, and she wants the shot against Charlotte. And Charlotte beats her pretty significantly. I mean, the match was not as long as I expected it to be. Doudrop looked good. I mean, she obviously is extremely talented. But Charlotte, I think the win tonight was just to get into the draft. I mean, Charlotte obviously is not being drafted to SmackDown. But
Doudrop didn't look bad. She didn't lose the match because she's a bad wrestler. She lost it because of the interference of Eva Marie. With the music hitting, she became distracted. Charlotte clearly capitalized on it, because that's what you expect Charlotte Flair to do. Charlotte Flair is a thoroughbred champion. So when she sees a moment as a heel, she's going to fucking take it. And that's exactly what happened. Doudrop got dropped, and that was that. Yeah. And then we move on to the Eva Marie stuff. And, rightfully so, got the crap kicked out of her by Charlotte, too. So I was fine with that, But Doudrop, as far as a competitor, TT, she's a competitor.
Yeah.
She needs to be given a little bit more seasoning. She's in that same level as a lot of these younger talents. And dare I say that she's one of the more positive talents to come up into the main roster with a lot of positive fanfare. I think she's good. She had a good match with Charlotte. It was a teaser. It was a fucking trailer of what we're going to see, man.
I will say this. I noticed it, but I want to watch it back to be certain. But I could swear when Shayna Bazler did the arm spot to Eva Marie, I could swear when Eva Marie was writhing in pain that Eva Marie with the bad arm actually fixed her hair. I used to talk about that with Heath Slater. When Heath Slater was first in WWE, Heath Slater was more concerned about his hair.
Oh, yeah.
He'd get his ass kicked and he just with his hair all the time. I could swear Eva Marie did that tonight.
She
I got to
might
watch
have.
it back, but I think she did.
A lot of, and I hate to say this, but a lot of the female talents do that. And there's a difference between why somebody like a Charlotte Flair doesn't do that versus why an Eva Marie would. I'll let people put their own 2 cents together on that. But.
So, as we said earlier, Bobby Lashley versus Big E match was thrown out early on because of interference from the Hurt Business and the New Day. So instead, we get a main event of a cage match between the two.
Yeah.
Big E retains the championship. The New Day, Hurt Business. First, the Hurt Business tries to interfere. New Day stops them. A really, really fun match. I mean, you know, that's why I think Bobby Lashley, like you, I think he ultimately gets moved to SmackDown because, you know, he ain't winning the championship back anytime soon.
Right.
He's already, like they were going into tonight, that Big E had never beaten Bobby Lashley straight up clean. Bobby Lashley called him the chicken shit for, you know, taking advantage of him when he was injured. So now there's no excuse.
Right.
The match tonight solidifies that Big E is the heavyweight champion. And they immediately shifted to Drew McIntyre, pointing at Big E. So we're probably going to get that match next Monday. But what'd you think of the main event? I thought the cage match was fun.
It was great.
Crowd
it was
loved
a great
it.
back and forth. We got a little bit of an interference coming in from the Hurt Business, as well as New Day jumping in on it, you know, and into the match. It was action packed. It was a very good main event for Raw. It was everything that you expected. It also kind of told the story that the Hurt Business is there for more than just one match. They're more than, well, maybe not. We'll see with the draft, but at least for the night, they were there for the night to have his back.
Yeah.
And I'd like to think that they would keep this together, you know, and I'm looking forward to when MVP comes back.
Yeah.
And they're all back. They're all back in unison again, because that was great. That was one of those things that WWE hit on earlier in the year that fans were a little slow in the beginning to get it on board with, but man, they pulled it all together. They really pulled it all together. And I think a lot of us are going to be excited if they keep this around.
Yeah. I enjoyed the main event big time. You know, people need to realize Big E is just heavyweight champion only 2 weeks. When you think about him beating Lashley twice, winning a 3-way already, and yesterday with New Day having what I thought was a pretty decent match with Bobby Lashley, Omos, and AJ Styles. You know, a lot of people were pissed off about, you know, Big E, Roman Reigns, you know, Roman Reigns showing up on Raw. But, you know, making the Bloodline versus the New Day, I mean, in the end, by last week's Raw, their goal was to make Big E, make you feel like Big E fits. He fits in.
Oh, yeah.
That he's a legitimate heavyweight champion, that he can be on the level of those guys. Only time will do that. But as far as Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre, maybe not Roman Reigns, but then again, who is on the same level as Roman Reigns? I don't think anybody. Big E shows that he belongs. And him getting this win tonight, Bobby Lashley is not being buried. He had his time. Now he's helping bring up Big E in the process. And I thought he did a damn good job tonight. I enjoyed it tremendously.
Yeah.
So that was your episode of Raw tonight, everyone. And again, you know, I mean, I liked the Legends Raw earlier this year, but from beginning to end tonight, I honestly think this was my favorite Raw of the year. I mean,
it was a good show. It was a good overall show. It had a good feel to it. It had a good flow. There were really no sore spots. There were no slow spots. I mean, I would have preferred this episode of Raw to Extreme Rules from last night. I'm just being honest. I think tonight was much better of a flow, a lot more enjoyable, better surprises in my opinion. You know, I think the Hurt Business is a better surprise than Sasha coming out looking all saucy. Yeah. So, yeah.
I'm not going to use the other template, everyone, because for some reason it makes Mish look like extremely like compacted.
Oh, it doesn't matter. I can fix that, DT. Hold on.
No, it's okay. I could just keep it the way it is. No, just go like this.
Oh, see here.
All right, if you want to fix it, all right.
Let me fix it.
Well,
here we go. Let's try this. There we go. Will that no? Does that
No,
work?
that doesn't help. You turned into a tag.
Yeah, I did.
He's just rubbing it in everybody's face that he was at C2E2 everywhere. So
Yeah, that's what
I'm joking. I'm joking.
I'll be there again this year too. So there we
That's
go.
good. That's awesome,
Yeah.
man. That's awesome. Well, if you can't fix it, like I said, I'll just use the regular template.
No, this is fine. We'll just use that.
Okay.
I'll be Alexa Bliss with a giant D on her head and that Alka-Seltzer in her mouth.
Oh yeah, that was Did you see the foam yesterday? It did look like Alka-Seltzer a little bit.
It was Alka-Seltzer. There's a picture of
Was it
her
really?
pulling out the Alka-Seltzer underneath the table. Dude, they were so bad, DT, that they couldn't take the Alka-Seltzer out of the brand name package and put it in a cup. They left it in the brand name package. She opens up the package, pops it in her mouth, and the camera is watching it the whole fucking time. It was horrible, dude. It was horrible.
See, I have a camping video that's about 30 years old. It's from 1992 to 1995. And there's a lot of fishing with me on it as well. And I'm going to put it online soon. There's a part where we're fishing in Hempstead, New York. A couple of seagulls come up. And at that time, I was a smoker. And I was giving the seagulls like pretzels. I'd throw it in the water, and they'd stick their thing in the water and eat them up. So I threw my cigarette in the water. And one of them tried to eat the cigarette and spit it right out. I mean, I didn't feed it to them, but I threw my cigarette out. But it was kind of goofy funny. But someone said in the video, like, give it an Alka-Seltzer. And we had Alka-Seltzer in the tackle box. But no, I did not give.
Yeah, that would have popped.
Yeah, I just, no. I see, you got to understand, this is 1994. So 1994, you didn't just go on Google and like, what happens when you give Alka-Seltzer to seagulls? Thank freaking God I never did that. That'd be a nightmare that I would haunt to my grave. I'd probably die and be reincarnated as a worm.
Yeah, you love birds, so that would have been.
I love birds. I love birds. Yeah, no, I would have been reincarnated as a worm. And I would have been eaten alive by a seagull and then probably reincarnated as another worm. Every week, it'd be like Groundhog Day. I'd be like Bill Murray, just as a worm. So, yeah, but I had I had a feeling it was Alka-Seltzer yesterday. But, oh, man, I did not realize that yesterday. I don't remember anybody bringing up Alka-Seltzer last night, too. So, but anyway, let's open the phone lines. We'll take calls for about 10 to 15 minutes, and we're going to get out of here. You know, I want to keep tonight definitely under 2 hours. Tomorrow, if you can't get enough, join our Patreon. It's not a money grab. You know, I know it's $5, but look, it's the 28th of September now, officially. You sign up tomorrow, I'll refund your money immediately because there's only 2 days left in the month. Sign up. Just send me a DM and say, hey, I just joined your Patreon, and I'll give you the money right back so you pay nothing for the last 2-3 days in a month. 2 days. 30 days in September, April, June, and November. And then if you decide you want to hang around in October, you can. But because tomorrow night, Mitchell and I will be on Patreon, the Patreon Discord, 10:05 p.m. right after NXT. We'll talk a little NXT. We'll do the finals for the Comfort Food Tournament. And the entire night is interactive. So if you have any questions or anything, you could hang out with us tomorrow night. So, all right. So let me take this off Do Not Disturb. Let's take a few calls, see what's on everybody's mind tonight. You know, we'll try to keep it to the topics at hand because we talked about quite a few things tonight. So the call-in numbers would be good if I put in the toll-free one. There you go. 833-366-8686 or 225-366-8669. And, yeah, calls are starting to come in. Here we go. Hey, you're on. Who's this? Oh, we lost him. All right, 833-366-8686. This software the last week has been a little quirky. I don't even know if that's the right way to put it. Yeah, on Thursday I was getting tons of voicemails and people were trying to get through. Hey, you're on. Who's this?
Hey, it's Rams fan.
Hey, Ransom. What's going on?
Hey, Rams.
Hey, we're gonna call this question tonight the Stoner Mind Ponders. Okay, I came up with a question in the chat. I don't think anybody can answer this. And it might even be a stupid question. Okay, so I was thinking, since the 1980s, since like the first big cage match with Snuka and Morocco and all them, I think that was the big cage match, and all those early cage matches, I just wonder on live TV, I don't think that one was on live TV, but I just wonder on live TV, how many cage matches have there been since then? I want to say there's probably at least been 10,000.
I wouldn't say 10,000, but there's been quite a few cage matches on TV. I mean, I remember a few with Steve Austin, without a doubt. Undertaker has had a few. Kane has had a few. There's even been title changes on TV in cages. There's been quite a few. I mean, we don't get really Hell in the Cell on regular TV. Although I could swear no, didn't we just have Hell in the Cell on TV? Wasn't it Bobby Lashley versus Xavier Woods? I think that was Hell in the Cell.
Yeah, we had like 3 Hell in the Cells in a month.
Yeah. So, no, we have had our share of cage matches on TV. Absolutely. You know, the thing is, to put a cage match on television, you know, that is a pain in the ass to put a structure like that up and then hang it up in the rafters. You can't just simply like just pull up with it with a truck and say, hey, let's have a cage match. There's a lot of work involved. And plus, that is a huge insurance risk. It's safe. But still, there are so many little elements about putting up a cage for just a regular Raw or a regular SmackDown. But there's been quite a few. There's been quite a few over the years.
There was also a point where I was bringing this up because I can't comment on the main event tonight because I'm not a fan of Big E, so I won't watch his matches.
Okay.
But like with cage matches in general, like the one that we just had at AEW's most recent pay-per-view that everybody was like calling the greatest cage match in history. Well, I'm a big AEW fan. I didn't think that was the greatest cage match in history. Like, I feel like we're at a point where cage matches are getting really stale, and I don't think there's a lot left we can do. Like, Hell in a Cell, yes, there's a lot left you can do. Granted, they really don't go outside anymore, but cage matches, is there really a lot left there to do in a cage?
Rams fan, let me ask you this. Do you think that the reason that cage matches are so stale, especially now in 2021, is that the actual cage itself is an afterthought of the match? I remember back in the earlier days when you had wrestlers inside of a cage match, that cage match was a weapon that defined who would win or lose the match, whether it was them crawling out of the cage or them using the cage as a weapon to bust open their opponent. And it's almost as if everything is so safe now. It doesn't matter what company you're sided with. Everything is so safe now that the cage is almost the background item as opposed to being the whole reason for the match. Like the ideas of gimmick matches, whether it's cage or strap matches or a falls count anywhere, like it doesn't matter what kind of gimmick match you have. The whole point of putting people in that match is because the fans, the audience, wants to see what they do in those scenarios versus each other. That's why back in the day when you said, oh, they're going to have a scaffold match and everybody would gasp, it's because the fans realized that they were going to be put in a predicament where someone's going to get fucked up. Somebody's going to get hurt. But now you go into a cage match and the reality is the cage is the extra. You can have an entire match in a cage and it has nothing to do with a cage match. You know what I'm saying? Like you can literally watch wrestling matches now and it's a whole wrestling match in a cage and they'll call it a cage match, but it's not a cage match.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're breaking it down good, Mish. Exactly. Like they missed the element exactly what a cage match is now. It's like, oh, we're just going to put the cage out there and make it look fancy, but it's not really a cage match, people. We'll call it a cage match. I mean, like I said, I don't know what they were doing tonight because I can't speak on it because I wasn't watching it. But like the AEW tag team match that I just said they were calling with the Lucha Bros and the Young Bucks.
Yeah.
I was telling my buddy that night when he was over, I was like, okay, this is Phoenix. He's going to do something freaking crazy off the cage. It's Phoenix. And it's like, no, he does a crossbody. It's like,
right.
There's so much you can do in a cage, and like, and even AEW sometimes doesn't do everything they're supposed to do, and just
Yeah.
But yeah, that was just I was just wondering about the cage and stuff, and I'm sure I'll get in the call next week and I'll have more to talk about. But I want to let other people get through. So
very cool.
You guys have a good night.
You too.
And, oh yeah, real quick before I go, to everybody, you never know when shit's going to go down in your life. Anything can happen at any time. So do yourself the best you can to be prepared.
Absolutely.
That's like a little bit of life advice. But thank you, DT. Thanks, Mish. Have a good night.
You too. You too. Hey, before we go any further, I got to mention this. Should have done it early on in the show. I want to shout out one of our friends of the show, Tim Tapp. I know he doesn't frequent the chat room much at all, but Tim Tapp he does a little artwork on the side. And he sent me an email with a picture, and he enjoyed my Daphne tribute. And he was not a Daphne fan growing up, that he basically learned from her more about Nikki Ash influence and everything. But he was so moved by the Daphne tribute that I did. He actually made this artwork up, which I think looks freaking phenomenal. And, he said to me, he's like, look, maybe, it'll be with some value down the line. I'm like, value? That's nice. Fucking send that shit to me. I'll frame it and I'll put it behind me, and she'll be on that wall for a very, very long time. So I wanted to shout him out. And Brandon Jones with the heel turn, the run-in. Brandon Jones with the run-in. Welcome aboard, Brandon. Welcome. We're just kidding. Brandon is good people. But yeah, shout out to Tim Tapp. Beautiful artwork, man. Beautiful. I love it. Because I showed this, the letters right here. DT, thank you for the Wonder Woman outfits. I mean, she was an awesome woman. And trust me when I tell you, that Wonder Woman stuff, that is beautiful. That is freaking beautiful. So we'll see. We'll see. I offered to compensate him for his work. So let's see if even if he just loans it to me for a little while, it'll be safe over here. But yeah, I thought, he is in the chat tonight. He is in the chat. So Tim, I'm sorry I didn't do it earlier. Very nice. Yeah. All right, let's take another call. Good evening. You're on. Who's this?
Hey, what's going on, DT? Hey, Mish, what's going on? This is Gregory.
Hey, Gregory.
And I got what's going on? I have a two-part question about Shayna Bazler. So, first one is, do you think that they could possibly, start a feud with her and Charlotte that was a bit of reminiscent of her father and Dusty Rhodes back in NWA, where you have the one with the silver spoon in her mouth and versus the tough chick from the wrong side of the tracks? And the second question is, or do you think that maybe they could draft Shayna to SmackDown and reunite the feud with Becky, since they have a bit of a history?
That's not bad. I didn't think about that. I mean, there's only so many people that Shayna could take out on Raw. And I don't know if she's going to interact with Charlotte again, and Alexa Bliss is off TV. And you don't want her immediately being people being drafted to SmackDown and then being immediately fed by Shayna. I mean, Shayna's got to try to take out somebody, and someone's got to make a save, or someone's got to fight back, because
Shayna needs to do prison rules. DT, Shayna needs to do prison rules. She needs to find the biggest girl in the yard and knock her the shit out. Just fucking knock her out, dude. If Shayna goes after Charlotte, it would be interesting, because Charlotte has this character where she really doesn't break. Charlotte isn't somebody that cries or whines or anything like that. It's not, she doesn't play the chicken shit heel. She really doesn't. Wow. How amazing would that be if Shayna was the one to make Charlotte break down and cry?
See, this is the thing though.
Wild.
I'll tell you why I don't like that, because then you would have to do a storyline where Charlotte is on the shelf for a little bit. But I'll say this. going back to last night, I think WWE really missed an opportunity. And I think the opportunity is not necessarily, Charlotte could have still torn apart Lily. She could have still ripped it to pieces. But I think Alexa Bliss should have showed up on Raw tonight. And Shayna Bazler, because remember, Shayna Bazler was trapped in a room and Lily was in the room and she was freaking out. And then we went off the air. That was not too long ago. And remember, and this is something I just remembered, Alexa Bliss is double jointed. So Shayna Bazler could have done that spot on the stairs with Alexa Bliss, and Alexa Bliss, because she's double jointed, she could have been like this with her arm totally like the other way. And people would have been like almost getting nauseous. But people forget that that's been done on TV before. Shayna Bazler should have made Alexa Bliss's arm look all disfigured tonight, and that's how you write off Alexa Bliss for a little while. Not Alexa Bliss goes home and cries because a doll got ripped apart. She should have showed up.
On her? What are your thoughts on her on the second part of this question with Becky Lynch and Shayna kind of going at it?
I like that.
See, I like that too. I actually like that a little bit better than Charlotte, because even though I agree, I like Shayna as a heel. I think Shayna is a complete heel. There are certain wrestlers, when you look at them, that's who they are. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's the same thing like, for example, like Naomi with this whole bloodline thing. Yeah, it would be cool, but to me, Naomi is a face. I don't want to root against her. I want to root for her. But when you look at Shayna, she's a complete heel. Granted, Becky's doing a really good job. Yeah. She's like the Terminator. Even though Becky's a heel now, I don't want Shayna as a face, but she could be that face, saying to Becky, in the sense of, if they can generate enough heel heat with Becky and you bring Shayna over there, you can we know Shayna's the Terminator, but it's like, okay, Shayna, you can reunite that storyline like, hey, you know what? You did beat me at WrestleMania, but we all know it was a bullshit win. And matter of fact, not only was a bullshit win, my best friend Ronda Rousey, when you beat her, it was a bullshit win because you're a bullshit champion. Won't you actually beat somebody straight up for a title? And I guarantee you, if she came out like that, the crowd will be behind her.
I like it.
That's what you need too. Yeah, no, that's a good scenario, dude. I like that. That's good.
Yeah, and I could see Sonya Deville wanting Shayna Bazler on SmackDown. In fact, maybe Shayna Bazler interacts with Naomi. Maybe Sonya Deville brings in Shayna Bazler to take out Naomi.
You really don't like Naomi?
No, I don't. I like Naomi a lot. I just want her in a storyline.
Right,
dude, I'm right there with you.
I do.
I want Naomi as part of the bloodline, as part of so badly. She needs to be a part of them. But I totally agree. She's such a face. She's such a good face that it would be weird, even though she had that heel team. Like I know people forget. What was it? Team Bad with her.
Yeah. that was the appropriate name. Jesus Christ.
But I mean, you're right. Like, I mean, she doesn't really have that bad blood in her body. She doesn't really portray that. But you almost want to see her with her husband. You almost want to see her with the family. Matter of fact, I thought, like, and I talked about this a long time ago on Soup and stuff like that, that I'm like, it would be very interesting to put her in there and she would second guess all the bad things that they do. She would be like the conscience of the group because Paul Heyman isn't doing it. Roman Reigns is clearly the catalyst, and Jimmy and Jay, even though it's family, it's like she can disagree with them. And then she would kind of be put in a weird position as a baby face to go out there and do heel like shit. Like I thought it would be very interesting as part of character development for Naomi if she was put with them, but you're totally right. She's a consummate baby face. It would be difficult to put her in there without really having to write for her character.
Yes.
Good right. Point. Yeah, I just like I said, I don't want to root against her though. Like I think, I don't know if it was Jericho's podcast she was on. She even said that she prefers being a babyface, that she doesn't like being a heel. It's just not natural to her. You know what I mean? But but like with Shayna, it comes naturally to her, obviously.
Oh,
You know what I mean? It comes, and I like that about her. It's like I want that because this is the thing. Like, and I get it. Like, I'm right there with you, Mish, when it comes to Alexa Bliss. I think she's great on the mic, but I cannot think of one single match that I was like, oh, that's a really memorable match. That he think about it. All 4 of the horsewomen have had classic matches. Asuka had a classic match. Okay, do you think Alexa Bliss is like, yeah, no, you don't. And I think what we're starting to see is that this evolution of women in wrestling, and it's like when you have all these women in AEW and then down at NXT putting on these crazy matches that's on par with the guys. Unfortunately, a lot of these women that are gonna, like Eva Marie, Dana Brooke, Alexa Bliss, as much she has improved, Carmella, they're gonna get phased out. They're going to get phased out, and they're going to just be used to this job.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. I really, really agree.
Yeah.
And I hope that's the direction, too, because WWE needs to shit or get off the pot. They need to decide if they want to have pretty-looking girls going out and having matches with the quote fingers, or if they want wrestlers to go out there and impress fans with their acumen and their talent. But right now, they're still stuck in this weird dichotomy, dude. They've got pretty women out there that pretend to wrestle, and then they have like just women that happen to be pretty but are also bruisers, and you want to see them go out there and fight.
Right, I agree. Because, like, listen, when Raquel Gonzalez comes up to the main roster, there's no fucking way in hell you're going to tell me that 4'11" Alexa Bliss can take on that woman. I'm sorry. I get it. It's a suspension of disbelief, but there's no fucking way. I'm sorry.
Yeah, man.
Good point.
So,
yeah, good call. Appreciate it.
Yeah, great call, man. Thank you, Gregory.
Thank you.
Great combo.
No problem. Thank you, guys.
Be well.
Take care, guys.
Take care.
Peace.
Yeah, good points. I honestly, the last stuff he said makes very good points, and that was one of the things that I was really poo-pooing about Raquel Gonzalez is they really moved away from what turned her into this big monster. But anyway, you're on. Who's this?
Hey, DT. Hey, Mish. It's Cruiserweight.
What's up, Cruiserweight?
Hey,
look.
What's going on, crazy?
I have to get this out of my head now. And you can call me crazy. You can say whatever you want. But I'm not going to apologize. You see this women over 30 nonsense in WWE. I can't take it anymore. I seriously can't take it anymore. I can't take Shayna being on my TV. She's 41, for God's sake.
Oh, my God, no.
Like, go away. And I'm not an Eva Marie fan either. She's 37. I've never been a fan of her work. Like, 37.
Why are you such an ageist? Where did old people hurt you?
I've never been. I don't like women wrestlers over the age of 30. This has just been my thing.
No. I understand that, but why? I would love to know because Mickie James was
okay.
Go ahead.
I'm going to tell you something about Mickie James. I'm going to say this now, Mish. You're going to not like me. You're going to want to yell at me.
Oh, Mickie I love you, crazy. Don't you dare say that I don't. I absolutely adore you, sir.
Mickie James needs to sit down and shut the fuck up. I'm serious. I've never. She has just turned into this bitter old grandma now. WWE doesn't do this. WWE doesn't do that. Like, shut the fuck up. You've turned into such a boner killer. She is such a boner shrinker to me, Mish. Like, I let her slide at 35, but it's Mickie, you're in your 40s. WWE was using you the right way they were. They were keeping you in the back because, again, you're not very attractive anymore at 40. I'm being serious. At 40, listen,
my God, dude.
She's in her 40s. She's not appealing. Like, the only women wrestler I like now is Tegan Knox, and she's 26. She's got 3 more years because she's 27 in November. After 30, it's, okay, bye, Tegan. No more Tegan. I can't take you. There's not a lot of women wrestlers out there that I can actually like right now. There's not. I'm just letting this be known. Ben, I'm pretty sure, is in the chat saying something right now. Ben, I'm gonna make sure you get banned on Discord out of the chat. But I have to get this off my chest. I see Shayna Bazler. I'm just like, who gets what? I don't get aroused by this. She doesn't arouse me. I need a woman.
You do realize we're
to,
watching wrestling, not porn, right, buddy? Like,
I do know that. I know that. Like, I used to be a Ruby Riott fan. Then she went to AEW, and I'm just like, never mind. I can't like you anymore. You're in AEW. And I think, DT, I think you know I have I have the biggest hate boner for AEW in the worst way possible. Like, I just can't take it anymore. I just can't. This women over 30 thing, they just lose their appeal to me after a while. I'm like, okay. That's just me. Anything you want to say, Mish?
I think I think you have a little bit of a problem with women's ages, and I don't understand where it comes from. I don't know. See, here's my thing: is like women got better over age. Trish Stratus got better over age. Mickie James got better over age. Gail Kim got better over age. Amazing Kong got better over age. A lot of women come into their own while they get a little bit older. And that's not a crazy thing to say because it's the exact same thing that happens to the men. A lot of their matches when they're younger, when they're less talented, happen to be average at best until they finally fall into their own stride and become more talented. The same applies for the women. There's a lot of women who they get older, you're right, they're done, and then they leave the business. But you can't sit there and tell me that a Mickie James isn't still a valuable wrestler even now in 2021. That's absolutely absurd.
I just don't see her value anymore. And Gail Kim is another ex-bitter WWE didn't use me correctly. Let me go be in Impact Wrestling for like 500,000 fans who watch on a regular basis, which is now even less than that. And I just sit there and I'm like, Gail, you were just a good hand at points in WWE. Please, you don't see Trish Stratus out there making comments like this because Trish knows where her bread and butter is. She doesn't say anything wrong. She doesn't need to come back to pro wrestling. I just feel like...
What about Molly Holly? What about a lot of these other women? What about a lot of these women that aren't even in WWE that are still wrestling on the independents, like Mercedes Martinez, like a Lufisto?
I never got into Mercedes Martinez, even when she was in NXT. I just was like, she's late 30s, early 40s. I was just like, I don't know what Mish sees in her. It's something, but not for me.
I'm not crazy.
I'm not crazy either. I mean, the one women's wrestler I like right now in NXT is Saray, and that's about it because Raquel Gonzalez is 30.
How do you feel? Look, let me throw it on this way. So then how do you feel about men that are over 40 wrestling? Are you against that too?
I'm not. I have a specific thing. It's like, well, I'm not getting aroused by men's wrestlers. I'm not doing that. It's like, I'm not looking.
See, you take it back to what you want to throw your meat into. It's not about that. We're talking about their actual in-ring ability. Look, Mae Young was how old? Fabulous Moolah was how old? And they were still going out there doing stuff. I get it. We didn't want to see them take off their tops back in the day when they were that old. And I get that. That was WWE schlock. But there's something to be said about talents that are still going out there over 40 years. Dude, 40 is not a death sentence. 40-year-old women are hot, brother.
Look, and that's another thing. We need to stop with this 40 is the new 30 and 30 is the new 20. Your age is your age. You got to get used to it. Come on. You got to get stop with
40
this
40 isn't a death sentence. If we're talking 60, I'm right there with you, buddy. But 40,
I just can't watch Shayna Bazler on my TV and like she's like, dude. Like 41 is just enough. You're not attractive. Your face looks like a foot. There's nothing appealing to you. I've never seen her appeal.
You know what?
She bores me.
Look, I'm going to do something I've never done before on Breakfast Soup, and I'm going to do it just for you, Crazy. What I would like, and maybe friends of the show, friends of my own, friends of Wrestling Soup can do me a favor. And can you send Crazy Cruiserweight pictures of hot women over 40 years old? Can you guys do that for me? can you show Crazy Cruiserweight that there are hot women in wrestling, and just hot women over 40? Because apparently, when you turn 40 years old, you may as well start shopping for the coffin. And I really don't believe that that's the case. I challenge you. I challenge people that listen to this show to do Crazy Cruiserweight a favor and show them hot women that you find attractive. We don't have to get PG. We don't have to get X. Just attractive women over 40 years old that you would be able to say that when you see them on screen, wow, these are attractive looking women.
You're not talking about porn stars, by the way, because it doesn't
have to be porn stars, but
okay, because that's a different.
I'm sure there's many porn stars that are over 40.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
Matter of fact, we have a friend of the show who happens to be a big fan of ours that is absolutely over 40 and absolutely gorgeous.
Okay, that's different. That's different. But anyway, I had to just get this off my chest. If people were just wondering what I was thinking,
I do appreciate it. I mean, I think you're very wrong, but that's okay. You're allowed to be that. That's fine.
Can I ask you a question before you go?
Yeah, what's up, DT?
You like Oscar?
Not really, no.
He did last year.
No. I mean, I still listen to her theme song on my Spotify, but that's about it. But
Oscar's 40.
Yeah, she just
turned.
Yeah, she's no longer she's a boner shrinker now.
Anyway, y'all have a good night.
You too. You too, my friend. Be well. Take care.
Long and prosper, buddy.
Okay. I was eating styrofoam. The people that were asking.
What the hell were you doing? I was watching you.
I was eating styrofoam.
And you were throwing up the Hulk Hogan TV guy?
I was trying to find things to give away on the shows next week, and I found, because I was talking about the old TV guides the other day, and sure enough, I found my old TV guides and found a few other things, and I saw a piece of styrofoam on the side. I started eating it, but there was hair. It was like a piece of hair in it. So, good evening. You're on. Who's this?
Hello, DT. This is Alex.
Hey, Alex. What's going on?
How you doing?
Not bad.
Mitch, it's nice to meet you, Mitch. It's the first time I met you.
How you doing, bud?
I'm doing good. How about yourself, sir?
Good, man. Good.
Oh, what's on your mind?
Is it possible I don't want to talk about Raw?
Sure. Absolutely.
All right. I don't want to talk about Raw. I just want to talk about the next episode about Dark Side of the Ring, which I'm looking forward to see, which is FMW. And the reason why I want to bring this up, because to be honest with you, I started watching wrestling since 1998, since I was very young. And my first hero was The Rock, because The Rock is my idol and he's my hero to this day. I don't even pay attention about Japanese wrestling, but you never mention about Japanese wrestling that often, about New Japan, All Japan, Taka Michioku's promotion. And you brought up about FMW because I remember that you told us about the Hayabusa passing, and I'm looking forward to see it whatsoever, because FMW is the Japanese version of ECW. And I just want to get both of your guys' opinion about the next episode of Dark Side of the Ring, about the FMW promotion.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Yeah. FMW was fantastic, dude. I used to watch it back in the day. Loved Hayabusa. Very sad story. Hardcore stuff. I think it kind of gets lost over the years. I mean, it hasn't been in existence for a while now. But aren't they doing a Dark Side of the Ring on FMW too? I believe so, right?
The next episode.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. There's a lot of, but from what I understood, there's a lot of like behind the scenes, there was like a lot of mob connections and a lot of stuff that was not on the up and up. But I mean,
the Yakuza.
FMW, right. Having connections with ECW back in the day, obviously. Yeah, dude, there's going to be a lot of history that comes from that promotion specifically. More than a lot of other Japanese promotions that had deals with different American promotions. So I'm kind of looking forward to that, because I know that there's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that I don't even have any idea about, man. So
yeah, there was an explosion match between Hayabusa and a promoter named Oniya. That was I when I watched it on YouTube, I never seen a wrestling match can do that. Not even WWE or WCW, but FMW can do that because I don't know, man. I mean,
they had a lot of wild matches. I remember the electric eel match. Was that Onita in that one too with the glass? It was shoot, I forgot who it was. But yeah, they've had electric eel matches. They've had barbed wire exploding matches, of course. They also had the one that was in the electrified pool where the ring was like surrounded by water and the water was supposedly electrified. Yeah, dude. But yeah, you're right. The exploding ring match was fantastic. It's still one of the biggest explosions that I remember from even back when I was younger when it comes to matches. So
I think Tarzan Goto was involved with the Waters Electric. That's another wrestler from FMW. He was a big dude.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say this about FMW for me. You know, I hope they interview Moxley. I think a lot of people should also look into All Japan. FMW with Onita. I expect him to be interviewed on there. FMW was doing 10 times more crazy shit than ECW was. The Mick Foley, Terry Funk stuff alone. You're going to look at the Wing promotion. You're going to see a few other promotions brought up. But all these exploding matches, you know, they're going to focus more on the... See, the thing is, it's not the dark side of the ring. It was the crazy side of the ring, but I don't consider it the dark side of the ring unless they're really going to try to push this Yakuza stuff. WWF, Vince McMahon met with Onita in 1997, I believe, and was going to... Excuse me?
I was going to bring that up too about it since you brought it up. So go ahead. Sorry about that.
No. Onita met with Vince McMahon in Stamford, Connecticut, and proposed the idea of doing an exploding death match. The original idea was Madison Square Garden, and I think they were going to have it at Terry Funk's ranch, and then Vince McMahon backed out of the idea. And I brought up very recently that I think it was Vader versus Ken Shamrock that actually wrestled in FMW that was still WWF wrestlers. They came out to the WWF teams. And then you also had ECW. A lot of people wanted to see the ECW crossover. So we had Hayabusa and Jinsei Shinzaki versus Sabu and Rob Van Dam at Heatwave 98. And they were supposed to have this big giant feud. And unfortunately, it never really flourished because of the cost, because of the expense, which is the same thing. And there was a lot of fantasy matches that people wanted to see go down. And you got a little tease of it, but, you know, that's the gist of the FMW stuff. I mean, they were just doing some whacked out stuff, but, you know, a lot of people, and I don't think Dark Side of the Ring will bring this up because they're not going to do that much research, but when I used to do my history show, I used to bring up Onita wrestling in Memphis in 1979 or 1981. It was somewhere right around 1981 that Onita was wrestling concession stand matches and brawling all over the place. So FMW was, you know, doing a lot of this crazy over the top stuff, but a lot of that hardcore stuff goes back a long way. So it's going to be a good episode.
Yeah, don't forget, Shawn Michaels also appeared in FMW, not to wrestle, but he was a referee
ref
against Hayabusa and his opponent or something. I don't know who his opponent was, but Shawn Michaels did appear one time in FMW as a referee. Mm-hmm. He had that white striped zebra referee tights, and he had that tight ass shorts that he had before the first episode of SmackDown. He only appeared that's the only thing he appeared. I was a little surprised that he appeared that on FMW. So that's...
It was a payday. It was a nice payday. They paid him a lot of money to be there.
They paid a lot of money for Shawn Michaels because he is freaking Shawn Michaels because he's a tough guy, greatest of all time, like him or not.
FMW, it's going to be a fun episode. I want to see how much they talk about the Yakuza, though. because the Yakuza, that'll be fun if they really get into. I don't know how deep they'll get into that, but I hope that they talk about the Yakuza a little bit.
Do you think they'll probably talk about the Hayabusa's career ending? I don't want to get into it because
they have to. It's the dark side of the ring. They got to bring up the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
They have to. They're going to bring up the after effects of a lot of wrestlers. They're going to bring up Hayabusa. They're going to bring up a few things. Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I brought this up because I remember I was curious to know about the FMW, which it came out when you guys remember this. Nintendo 64 was the Virtual Pro Wrestling 64. The Japanese game. I still have it at home. I still got my N64 at home and PS1. And I still got the old games because I'm an old school. And I was really curious to get to know the Japanese wrestlers, which I did. And that game was so fun. And I'm still playing. I'm about to play it tomorrow about the Virtual Pro Wrestling 64 on Nintendo 64 tomorrow. I'm going to play it tomorrow morning. So, what do you guys think about the Virtual Pro Wrestling 64 and then in your guys' opinion?
For my international flavor, Fire Pro Wrestling was one of my favorites. I like the Japanese imports. I just never bothered to really invest a lot of time in it. I mean, once the WWF games, you could pretty much create any wrestler you wanted, and the graphics were a little better. I mean, Nintendo 64 was fun, but it was not one of the bigger game systems that I used back then. But, there's a lot of Japanese imports, and you could probably play some of these games online. There's a lot of emulators online that you could just do a Google search, find the game, and probably play on a website somewhere. So those were fun times. I mean, it's much different now, but, it's fun to pop in one of those old games once in a while.
Did you ever try playing some of the Japanese promotions in one of the booking games like Adam Ryland's TEW or EWR?
Not really, not exactly, but the only ones I have in the Japanese game is the Virtual Pro Wrestling 64, Virtual Pro Wrestling 2. That's got to keep in mind. That was AJ Styles' favorite game, Virtual Pro Wrestling 2. And if you've seen AJ Styles' house, he's got a gigantic video game room, which, oh my God, I was like,
if you're interested in stuff like that, and this is totally a plug for the guy. It's a good game. Total Extreme Warfare, or it used to be Total Extreme Wrestling. Used to be EWR from back in the day, back when Edge and Rey Mysterio used to plug it and stuff like that. But it's a strategy game. It's a strategy game based on, it's called the Cornellverse, but you can put in your own stats. And there's a lot of people that put in real life federations. So you can have your IWGP, you can have your wrestling from the 90s, you can have your wrestling from the 80s. And what it is it's a giant database of all the wrestlers in the world and all the different promotions in the world. And you get to book matches, book TV, deal with contracts, go back and forth and see how you fare against the game and ratings and fans. And, sometimes wrestlers have issues like drug habits and injuries, and some people pass. But it's a real fun life simulator based around the world of wrestling. So if you're a fan of Japanese promotions, you can strictly do just Japanese promotions. And I think that if you're really that big into the Japanese wrestling thing, Pururisu, and I would say definitely give it a try. But I mean, you can find that. I believe he's still underneath GrayDogSoftware.com. But yeah, you can easily just Google Adam Ryland and TEW and you'll find it. And it's got multiplayer too. You can play with like 8 other people. So it's like, you can play with 8 other people and have your booking versus their booking.
All right. One last question, a real quick match. I would love to get your fantasy match on this, because I asked you, DT and Mitch. DT, what I consider you as an icon of podcast wrestler and my thoughts. And I asked you guys both are writers, and who's going to go over in the dream match between Kurt Angle versus Bret Hart in the submission match, and who you think is going to go over. because I want to hear your guys' thoughts, because these guys are both technical greatest wrestlers of all time. They're both amateurs, in my opinion. So, who you think who could win the submission match?
Mish?
Go ahead, DC. I'm sorry.
I would probably. I mean, in their primes, I probably would go with Bret Hart over Kurt Angle. I just think Kurt Angle works better as a heel than Bret Hart did. Bret Hart was a great heel with the Canada USA thing, but it's just a straight up heel. I think Kurt Angle would be a bigger and better heel, and I could see Bret Hart putting him in the sharpshooter and Kurt Angle tapping out.
Not even close.
I agree.
I would go with Kurt Angle hands down. Kurt Angle had a lot more tools that Bret Hart wasn't capable of. Kurt Angle wasn't just a technical wrestler or a submissions wrestler. He was also a powerhouse wrestler, and he could brawl. Bret was never capable of this. Kurt Angle is the all-around more complete athlete through and through, and I would think that Kurt Angle should win a match against Bret Hart.
Right? Yeah, we disagree, but that's cool. That's what's great about wrestling. We could always agree or disagree on topics, and nobody's right,
always have
nobody's wrong.
That are right, and you can have opinions that are wrong.
Yeah,
that's how we do this, DT.
Yep, all good. All right, my friend.
So much,
we're going to start wrapping it up. So have a good night, and great questions. Great questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. You have a good night.
All right, you too. Be well.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, cool. Very cool. We went a half hour over. I think we did about 45 minutes worth of calls.
Sure.
I just, like I say in the future, like I ask, it would be great, we cut. I don't want to ever cut anybody's conversations down, but 15 minutes on one call, we can't do that, because it's not fair to, have everybody trying to call in and then 4 people eat up an hour. So we gotta. I mean, the conversations are nice and everything, but bounce a couple of questions off, and there's always Thursdays, there's always next Monday.
I can speed up the calls from now on. I can absolutely do
that.
No,
it's cool. I'm not complaining or anything. I'm not complaining.
No,
I'm
just not saying that you're complaining. I'm just saying that if we need to wrap things up, I have no problem.
Well,
matter of fact, I do it with a personal fervor to speed up the
it's
calls.
cool. It's cool. It's just it's 1:30 in the morning over here. So by the time I put this up, it's going to be around 3 for me. But it's all good. I look, great conversations, and everybody seemed to love the convo. That intense debate about Shayna Bazler is interesting, no question. But it's a good night. So any final thoughts before we end this? And I appreciate everybody who hung out live. I mean, like 90% of you stuck around, which is fabulous. We got Twitch going and Twitter and Facebook.
Awesome.
And so
thank you for listening to us, guys. Thank you for allowing myself, Mitch, to do a fantastic job for you guys and be able to spread my opinions. And I guess my final thoughts would simply be, make sure to get a hold of Crazy Cruiserweight and send him some lovely pictures of beautiful women that happen to be 40 years old, because I really do believe that Crazy Cruiserweight may not be exposed to gorgeous women over 40 years old. And I think that the internet can do a fantastic job and bring it to his attention. And you know what? You guys get points for it. You get points. You get a good old pat on the back. So much love from myself. Thank you very much for having me. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. I will see you all tomorrow.
Tomorrow's going to be fun, man. Tomorrow's going to be a lot of fun.
The finals of the comfort food tournament.
Yeah. I'm going to put it up before I go to sleep tonight. We'll put the finals up tonight. But it's going to be a fun show tomorrow. Tomorrow's off the cuff too, so anything goes, which is going to be a really fun show. But yeah, I'm actually, while we're doing this, I'm starting to type synopsis and everything so we could get online. Anybody know the exact title of the FMW episode? I got it. Someone in the chat room, maybe if you could get that for me, that would actually help. So this way I could put this online. But Mish, I'll definitely talk to you tomorrow after NXT.
Thank you.
Much love, my friend. Be
Much
well,
love, everyone.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to rush anybody off the show or anything like that. It's just, we really want to stay about an hour and a half, an hour and 40 minutes, and we're now 2.5 hours. I love having the convos, but we got to spread it a little bit different because, I can't go on 2 hours sleep anymore. But, hey, fun convo, so it makes it all worth it. But anybody know that, then, I'll just put FMW on there. So, all right, everybody, post your comments in the comment section. I got a couple of days of catch up to do tomorrow, but, I already went through the contest for Extreme Rules, so at least I don't have to worry about that. NXT should be a lot of fun, and, we'll do a fun Patreon show tomorrow night. So, everyone, have a great night. Thank you, as always, for the support, and believe me, it is appreciated more than you know. So, be well, everybody. Have a great one, and I'll see you all again soon. Ciao.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills, I paid the host, I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's alright, he's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.